Hello, everybody. I will try to explain in 15 minutes what do we do in education. I'm not going to talk about AI at all today, because my job is to worry about the education. When I became a Minister of Education almost 3 years ago, ChatGPT 3.5 had just arrived into everybody's pocket, into the mobile phones. And my advisor, who I hired, very smart guy, came to me first day in office and said, "Dear new minister, welcome to the office, but we need to do something about AI in education." And I asked him, "So what's your proposal?" He says, "I don't know, but we need to do something because it's here, students start using it, and we need to do." It took us a while to figure out what to do about it in education. And I will just explain where did we come, how this journey was, and where we are right now. But we have taken 2 years' journey to figure out how do we deal with education. So I will talk about education, actually, and what AI means for education. But first, this is my country. It's smaller than this town where we are today. So it's just 1.3 million people, and if you think we have only 500 schools in Estonia, that's extremely, extremely tiny. So it's easy to operate, that's true. So sometimes small is beautiful because you can move fast and you can do changes very quickly. And I think that has been one of the advantages of Estonian education system, to adapt very quickly to the changes that we have. But the size is not the only advantage. There's a couple of other advantages that we have built over the centuries, actually, when it comes to education. So I will just go quickly to this. This is Estonia's journey through, I would call it through 17th century, when first compulsory education system was established. That's very early on in any European history, or any European country comparatively, where the compulsory education system came into being. And we are one country which is very unique in a way. Maybe Latvia is another one, where education system in Estonian language, compulsory education system was first, and then the country came later. So first there was education system, and then there was a state. So people who were building the education system were the ones who eventually built the state and the country and the independence. But in 17th century, when the schooling system was established under the Swedish rule by the obligation of the Swedish king at that time, it went through, of course, of the many changes. And some of them were positive changes, some of them were actually quite negative impacts. Maybe the biggest, most recent challenge was that this very, I think, very strong education system, which is very strongly rooted in a communities, survived Soviet occupation of 50 years. There was a heavy ideological impact on this school system, but nevertheless, we emerged from that system still education-wise quite strong. In 1991, we did very fast reforms again by replacing the Soviet curricula with a new European curricula. There was one country we copied one-to-one. We went for the best curricula in the world at that time, and that was our neighbors, Finland. So we just took one-to-one Finnish curricula, imported it into Estonia in 1991, and then followed up with 1997 with the Tiger Leap program. This was our initiative. This was the first digitalization of education system in 1997, where we put computer classes into every school and connected every school to internet. And as a result of this, EdTech sector started developing very fast, because suddenly the infrastructure was there, the schools were connected to the infrastructure, and then the innovation regarding the learning processes and teaching programs for the schools started emerging. So there is a timeline of those processes, because we have this online platform based on which we are operating all education system, and that was already established in 2002. So we have been there for more than 24 years now, running digital systems in education, and that has been proved to be quite successful. Just a reminder, back in 1997, when we decided to bring internet to every school in Estonia, some of the school principals were very much against it, because they said that that's horrible. You put those computers here, you connect them to internet, the boys will be playing Tetris on those computers, Googling, searching, surfing in internet, and they will not be learning, so they will be dumber. They will become stupid because you put those computers in our classrooms. Reminds a little bit of Bell with their AI, right? Don't bring it here, keep it out of the school, because otherwise the students will be stupid. What resulted in 1997 reform actually was that our first IT sector startup generation grew up on that reform. So if you think that we are among the startup unicorns in IT sector, one of the top countries in the world, this is the generation that went to school in 1990s, who were sitting in the computer class, and they did play Tetris, and they did actually surf the internet, but that's how they got very attached to the computers, to the IT, and to the whole knowledge of the computers at that time. So now, this is a story of Estonian education system. We are based on a PISA top in Europe in mathematics and in science, so our performance indicators of our 15-year-olds is very good. We have step by step reached to that point. We are also not bad in reading. Ireland does well as well in reading, but a country of 1.3 million, which just left Soviet Union 35 years ago, has made decisions in education that has brought us, in terms of the skills and knowledge, to the top in Europe. But it's not only skills and knowledge, it's also we are first globally in growth mindset. Our students exhibit this growth mindset, and that's very important. I have to just explain it a little bit, because PISA test is asking students, do you think that intelligence in mathematics or in science is given to somebody's just good in math, or it's something that you acquire? And more than 80% of Estonian students say that that's something that you acquire. It's hard work, it's learning, and then you become good in math. It's not that you just are good in math. You just become good in math. So the countries that perform high in global growth mindset also perform high in many other aspects, because students are taught that everybody can learn, and intelligence is something that evolves. It's not something that you're born with. And this is very important, and creative thinking as well. Now, this is what we consider to be the key strength factors of Estonian education system. We have very ambitious curricula. We call it mentality in education has to be aim high and work hard. School is not a nice place to go. It could be a nice place to go as well, of course, but it's a place to learn. And learning has to take place in the classroom, and it's an effort, and it's a work. It's not just a process. So everybody has to put an effort into it. Teachers have to put an effort. They have to be held accountable for what they're doing in the classroom. Students have to put an effort, but also parents have to put an effort. Everybody has to make an effort. It's a little bit similar to Singapore and Korea's approach to education, that you have to aim high and you have to work hard. But we have a very strong autonomy system. Teachers and educators have a very big autonomy in decision-making regarding any pedagogical decisions, including digital tools. We have evidence-based and equity-based education system. So we don't have too many private schools. Our system is based on everybody goes to the closest school to your address, no matter where, whether you can pay it or you can't pay it. So the equity system for us is very crucial. We keep this. And we don't segregate children, not until they are 16. So until the age of 16, everybody does the same academic program, and only after 16, they are the ones choosing the different strands. Diversity, that's also important, and I think very crucial, which many countries don't maybe acknowledge that much, is I think that the reason why Estonian 15-year-olds are performing so well in PISA tests is because we have very good kindergartens and the education programs in preschool. Because Estonian kids go to school very late. They start compulsory schooling at the age of 7. So that's one of the latest in the world. By the age of 15, compared to the rest of the world, they have been to school 1 or 2 years less. But yet they are performing very high. And I think the reason is what you do with them at the age of 3, 4, 5, and 6. And how do you actually operate in the kindergarten level with them, and how much access they have to preschool education before they actually enter academic learning processes. And of course, the digital technologies. Digitalization of education has been a success story in Estonia, so we consider this to be strength. Now, this is what we have achieved in the past, right? So this is an achievement of we did something right in the past. Now we are moving to the future, and AI enters the scene into this We are very happy about our education system. We know we're doing everything right. And suddenly there is a disruptor coming from outside. First disruptor was COVID. It had a quite significant impact on education. And a second disruptor came right after the COVID, which is an AI. And you think that we have to do something about it, because continuing the same way teaching and learning as we did, yes, results very wonderful, but the world has changed significantly, and there is an impact by AI into this. So, for example, we know already from 2017, OECD has said it many times, 2/3 of workers in OECD countries are using their literacy, numeracy, and digital problem-solving skills with a proficiency at a level on par with that of computers. And that was back in 2017. I think if the survey would be done now, the computers are outperforming quite a lot of humans in literacy and numeracy and digital problem-solving skills. And this is a challenge for education system. You think that if the computers are outperforming, then something is there in education system that we need to change. Humans have to outperform computers, because if the computers are outperforming humans, it's a question of who controls the cognitive world where we are living, right? So that's a question I asked myself and with my advisors, what do we need to do in education system in order to not start lagging behind? We are already in par with computers, but we will probably be stepping and lagging behind quite significantly, because computers are doing very fast change. So the question is, let's face it, we are a little bit as humans facing the evolutionary challenge. We have to evolve into more capable human beings. It's not about that we have to run faster or be physically more stronger. That's also not bad. But what we have to do is we have to change our capacity of thinking. So our brain, the way our brain operates, the capacity of thinking has to change faster, more deeper, and more systematic thinking. It's not the first time in human history when our capacity of thinking had to change. When the printing press was invented and everybody had to learn reading, that was also evolutionary change for human brain at that time, when we did it. So now it's a little bit of a same challenge. So the question is, where do we find the space that we would need to develop our capacity? Our brain works in two modes, you maybe know, lower cognitive modes and higher cognitive modes. And I will explain what these two modes are. So here we have a lower cognitive modes, which is remembering, that's fact remembering. I learn something, I memorize this, I understand this, and then I use it. Then I learn something, I memorize this, I understand it, and then I use it. That's a lower cognitive capacity. I learn to ride a bike, and then I don't relearn it every time I get on a bike, because I've learned it once, and then I use this knowledge all the time, the same way as I learned, right? So this is what our education system have been doing for 200 years. They have been teaching us to memorize, to understand, and to apply. To memorize, to understand, and to apply. Now, the problem is that the world around us and technology is forcing us to change. The reality is changing so fast that you have to relearn all the time. So the stereotype or prior learning is helping you, but you have to learn to relearn all the time. So your brain has to constantly be in the process of learning. And this constant process of learning is you have to constantly analyze the situation again and again and again. So you can't use the previous knowledge automatically. You have to reanalyze the situation. You have to evaluate, okay, what do I do in this situation? And then you have to create a new knowledge, a new capacity to operate in this new situation. And these are higher order cognitive skills. And this is something that our education systems have not been very good at doing, right? They have not been that much focusing on those higher order cognitive thinking skills. But the AI is forcing us to do that. So we can't just, in education systems, any longer deal with lower cognitive skills, sending kids out of the school saying, okay, you have learned multiplication tables, that's it. You have memorized it, you know it, but computers do it very fast as well. So we have to learn multiplication tables, don't misunderstand me. We still have to do it, but that's not enough. That's not enough. And we have to go up here and do this, and from already quite early age, starting. So that's what we started thinking in Estonia. How do we use AI in schools, in learning processes, to force children to do learning that develops analysis, evaluation, and creation? How do we put AI into that process, into learning? And we have been working with teachers and scientists to figure out how to redesign the whole learning process in school so that kids do memorization, understanding, and application, and they will go on doing evaluation, analysis, and creativity. So we started what we call AI Leap program. This is a program, I will jump because my time is running out. We created Ministry of Education created an AI council that consists of neuroscientists, tech company representatives, developmental psychologists, and we just asked them, how do we have to redesign the learning process in school so that our kids will be learning those higher order cognitive skills? This council came up with an AI strategy for education, explaining how to change the learning process and teaching process. And then we launched an AI Leap program in August 25. If you see, the tempo was very fast. We had to go very fast because the kids already were using AI in the school already by that time. So we were running against the time with them in that sense. What is AI Leap program? It's basically, we established a foundation. We dedicated absolute most of the time to teachers by giving teachers the competencies regarding what AI is, what its capacities is. We are talking here mostly about LLM programs that kids are using the most. And in 2025-26 school year, we launched by giving access to all teachers of upper secondary schools in Estonia. We have 30,000 pupils and 5,000 teachers in upper secondary. All teachers got licenses to OpenAI and to Google Gemini, and they went through the very extensive training program in terms of what the AI does to the learning and teaching, and how does it affect it, and how you should integrate that into the learning process. It's about development of learning skills and cognitive growth, which I explained. It's a private-public partnership initiative because tech companies finance half of that program. So tech companies came on board and said, we want to be in, and 50% of the budget of the whole initiative comes from the tech companies. Biggest contributor is Telia, which is a Swedish company, actually. And then half of the budget comes from the Ministry of Education and Science. We do also AI literacy course for the students, and we established a scientific monitoring body. So there is two teams of scientists, neuroscientists and developmental psychologists, who are observing what is happening in the classroom, how the students are learning. They're looking at the students' logs, what are they asking from AI, how they are using AI, for what learning. So we do a scientific monitoring of this program as well. We are hoping to get first results in summer this year from the scientist monitoring, like what is actually happening in the classrooms with the learning. So just very quickly, we think that this is absolutely essential thing to do because we have to build the resilience of our students for the democracy, also for our defense, for students to cope with an LLM, but also coping with vulnerabilities to misinformation, to manipulation, digital dependency, lots of things that are in the basket there. And what is most important, we don't have all the answers. We don't know exactly where is it leading. We have a concept, we think we know where we want to go, but whether we are getting there and how we are getting there, we are not yet very clear to answering you. So we are just inviting the world to go with us, because I think that standing in here and saying that we are afraid and we don't allow AI to come into the classroom is not an option for us. So that's what we are doing. Our president, who is a chair of that whole program, said that it's not about using AI the most and to be the pioneer in bringing it into every class. It's about using it the wisest way and to be aware how it impacts us. Thank you.